more you listen, the more you know. This is Good Politics with Dr. Wilson and Adam Whiteman.
Welcome to another episode of Good Politics. I'm Adam Whiteman, here with Dr. Wilson.
Let's do this. Today, what I want to do is start off with some happy news. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about China. We're going to talk about poverty. We're going to talk about, if we have some time, maybe the deficit, which isn't so happy. But we're going to do the economy. And then in the second segment, we'll get back to more pressing concerns. But to start us off, let's play clip number one.
From a political standpoint, this is very good news. The fact the unemployment rate is an historic low, that's what most people around the country look at.
What do you think of this report?
This kind of a mealy peach of a report. We're a little under what the forecast was. It's okay. Like Steve said, it's okay, but it's definitely not great.
Tons of revisions. What does this mean?
All right, so what they were talking about there was the jobs report. I probably should have mentioned that before we played the clip, but there was this, the jobs report comes out every month, and usually, Adam, we go over it, so we know how to do this. The jobs report was rather interesting. Again, it's getting really hard to read these things, because they're not stereotypical. And I'll give you an example. There's only 136,000 jobs that were created last month. And remember, the jobs report comes out every Friday, and it reports what went on in employment the month before. But there were revisions upward of 45,000. There was 7,000 added in July, 38,000 added in August. And so that meant that when we did the report last month, when we thought there was only 130,000, there was actually 168, which is a little bit better number.
And our target market good is 150, right?
No. Now this is what gets hard to read these things. I don't give an A unless you give 200. 200,000. That's the benchmark. Remember, we had talked in prior shows. Even President Obama had the Great Recession, and even he got 200,000 jobs a month for 6 straight years. Clinton did it for 8 years. Reagan did it easily for 6. So Trump right now this year is only averaging 161,000. So he's actually, the number of jobs being produced isn't quite what you'd normally expect in a robust economy. But on the other side of the scale, and it is completely on the other side of the scale, you've got this unemployment rate that is just rocking. Did you see what the number was? 3.5%.
And that's terrific. I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, very often, I should say.
Oh, it's completely, it's in, for my generation, which is a lot older than yours. No, that doesn't happen.
Right.
We haven't seen that since the 1960s. The lowest that I saw in my adult life would have been President Clinton. That was the standard, 3.8%. And that happened at the end. Remember, these are usually lagging indicators. If before the economy goes into recession, these indicators are the last to know it. His very last number was his best, which made conventional economic sense. Let's do this. Let's play clip number 2.
The thing driving this whole thing is that the GDP growth rate is slowing down. And a lot of the forecasters are now saying that they expect a 1 handle for the rest of the year. If we get GDP growth falling down into the 1s, I think the jobs numbers are going to fall apart and the wage numbers are going to fall apart. So let's hope we don't go in that negative direction.
Dave, what do you think? Growth expectations for the rest of the year, what are yours?
I think they're continuing to be strong in the 2 to 2.5%.
The thing driving it is GDP growth, is what he's saying?
What he's saying is the thing to look at in this jobs number is what the future is going to hold, because the key indicator is what the growth is going to be, the economic growth. And there's some indication in some corners. Some people have always fear that the U.S. economy is slowing, the economic growth. And even the question is what the number is going to be. If it drops down to 1%, and you're still only getting 130,000 jobs per month, for sure, you're going to see the unemployment rate go up. That would be very bad news. But the other side of it is maybe it's not going to drop. Maybe it's going to stay around 2.5%. Now, you'll notice that's below what the supply-siders wanted. They needed 3 or better to make their arithmetic work. So even that is a cooling, but still would be a great number. If we had 2.5% for this entire year, with the remaining 2 quarters that are left, that would actually be very good. Europe isn't doing so well. All right, so the key thing to take there is it's a report that's hard to read, And the real indicator to watch for is economic growth in the future. That we're going to see when the third quarter comes out what that looks like.